And Air Canada 856, we're ready for a vector.
Canada 856, thanks. Turn left heading 150 degrees.
Left heading 150, Air Canada 856. Severe turbulence on final.
Speedbird 72, runway 27 left, clear to land, surface wind is 230 degrees at 29er, gusting 40 knots.
Clear land 27 left, Speedbird 72.
Hello and welcome to another video on the channel. It is Thomas. How are we all doing? Hope you are all well, and welcome to this Air Canada's Flight 865 from London Heathrow all the way over to Canada's Montreal. This is actually inspired by Across the Pond, which went ahead yesterday. I unfortunately couldn't take part, but I thought I might just fly today anyway. This is the fantastic PMDG simulations Boeing 777-200LR. Unfortunately, the flight that Air Canada actually flies is actually an Airbus A330, but I don't have one of those, so I decided to fly in this fantastic simulation with the Air Canada's livery actually. The flight time today is approximately 7 hours and 7 minutes. It's not too long, it could be longer. I thought I'd fly to Canada because it looks really nice. So let's jump into the cockpit and let's get going. It is all cold and dark in here. I haven't done a cold dark startup for ages, so please do forgive me if I do make some mistakes. But first thing, the parking brake is on, and let's turn the battery on and then start the APU, which is here. That's on, and then we wait for that to start, for which it takes time. But first I'm going to talk about the flight. At 7 hours and 7 minutes, I did say this flight is actually scheduled to depart today at 1:15 this afternoon. It's 11:30, so I'm setting off slightly early. I did conquer planning a flight on PFPX with North Atlantic tracks because it kept trying to take me on the lower ones, the ones that aren't quite going over Iceland and Greenland. They go south a little bit more, which was a bit rubbish, and I didn't really want to fly there. I don't know why it was doing that to me. So I can hear it. Is that just me hearing things? But look at these engines. I think these are really nice actually. Unfortunately we're not in PFPX, but just look at that. They look cool, don't they? That door is open and I don't know why. I didn't open it. Okay. How are we doing in terms of stuff? Let's turn them on. There we go. Okay. So lots of lights have just come on, which is always a good thing. So let's jump over to the overhead panel, just so we can see things. Backup generators can come on. Like everything is clicking. It makes me feel like something's happening. I've got a checklist here which doesn't really help very much, but oh well. I'm going to switch things that have lights on that need to come on. Turn that on. Apparently the APU is on, although I have known that these LCDs take a bit of time to come on actually. In fact, a lot of time. So that's that. Turn them on and see what happens. There's probably a fault. Keep looking down at the LCDs expecting something to happen. Okay, gear down. I believe, yeah, down and locked. Don't know why that's in the checklist. It's a bit rubbish. Gear down is locked. Transponder on standby. Things are coming alive. Good. It is on standby. Good. Flaps up. That's true. Flaps are up. Cut the fuel flow. They're off. Anti-ice. Don't need that yet. Aircraft lighting. Don't need that. Check the weather. We've done that. Weather is actually quite good over the Atlantic today. It was a bit rubbish yesterday, but the weather did get a little bit better. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so let's continue with this. There's probably something I haven't done, which is probably making it not work. Backup gens are on. Can go to auto. There we go. Everything is coming alive. Fantastic. Okay. Turn the AIADIRU on, which is good. Let's go over to the overhead panel because there's buttons I haven't pressed yet. Fuel pumps can come on. Packs can come on. They're off at the moment. Don't know why. Cool, cool, cool. There's a fault. Turn them off. That doesn't matter. Okay, you can probably tell I have no idea what I'm doing, but oh well. It's a learning process. Fuel. First thing I'm going to do. It's conveniently done it in kilograms in PFPX. Release fuel of 51,000 kilograms. 51,734. Fantastic. Return payload. We're looking at a zero fuel weight of 187,448. Which is good. Back to the FMC. Go to position initialization. We are at Heathrow. I've temporarily forgotten what gate we're at. 246 right. 246. Not in the database. Let's take the right out of there. That's not in the database either. Oh well. Next page. Take the GPS location and plonk it in there. Go to route. We do actually have a route. If you think I'm sitting here for years putting that in, that would take me hours. What is this telling us? In fact, actually, one thing that's quite useful is this checklist thing that I've seen before. So, pre-flight oxygen, we tested that. Flight instruments, we can say that. Parking brake is on. Good. Pre-flight, we've done that. Oh, we've already done that. Okay. Before start checklist, we're not ready for that yet, so we can turn it off. That is a really useful thing. I do quite like that. So it's said our Route 1 uplink is ready. We can click load, and it's loading. There we go. Flight number. Oh, it's still loading, I think. There we go. Runway 27 right for takeoff today. And flight number was Air Canada. Flight 865. Our performance initialization is ready as well, which is always good. Click activate and then execute. Go to performance initialization. We can, I believe, just accept that. It'll then probably tell us our wind data. Yeah, there you go. Go to VNAV. Oh no, that's not the right one. Click legs, I believe. I've totally forgotten how to do this. Route data. Ah, here we go. Click load. There we go. Click execute. It'll tell us our descent forecast is ready. Go to VNAV. Click next and next. Click forecast and then load. And that will load all of the descent forecasts in. We click legs. I think we can see it's put in the North Atlantic tracks. After Sunot is our entry point for the North Atlantic tracks, and then after that we follow the 6020 November route on the North Atlantic track. That's pretty much all I know. So, progress page. According to them, we're going to land with 8.9 tons, which is okay. That's within limits. I'm quite happy with that. Flaps. I believe I'm going to use flaps. If 10 exists, we can use... No. Flaps. See what flaps 5 does. We've got a long runway. Center of gravity, which gives us a VREF, a V1 of 138, VR of 146, and V2 of 157, which we can put in now. We're not going to derate the engine because I would like full thrust. That would be quite nice. Fantastic. So, in fact, actually, I think I need to put the departure arrival in. 27 right, and the departure out of London Heathrow looks to be the Woburn 3 Foxtrot departure, which we have. Click execute, go back to route, click legs, and it's put it in quite nicely. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to check that there's no discontinuities, which there doesn't appear to be. Apart from this weird thing that it's done here. What the hell has it done there? That's not going to do that, but I'm sure we'll just go direct to somewhere, because that is rather strange. There we go. Oh well. We are in the UK, so we're going to use hectopascals. And coincidentally it's 1013. I did say it was a nice day. MCP overhead is looking strange, but we'll sort that out later. So, it was what was the VREF? I've forgotten. It was a 146 V rotate, so I'll add 20 knots onto that. 164. No. 166 is the MCP speed I'm setting. That's good. And there's no ATC on, so I'm just going to go straight up to our cruising altitude today, which looks to be along the lines of 360 initially, and then a step climb up to 380. So we shall keep that there. Flight directors can come on both sides. We are going to need the data, and I believe that is about it, just because we're not on VATSIM, but just for principle I shall set Unicom. I know, it's kind of silly, and we'll just randomly put a squawk code in. Cool. Okay, let's continue further with this checklist and get going quite quickly. So, okay. As a door page, we can confirm that that one is not closed. But if we go down here, we can go to menu, FSX actions, doors. We can close those two. Make sure they're all closed. Flight attendants are prepared and cross-checked. They are. Well, they're here, which is possibly on the door. Fantastic. We are all ready with the data and all that stuff. Verify fuel quantity. I don't really need to do this. I'll just check the progress page just to make sure that we aren't going to run out, which we're not. Okay. I need to start the ACARs for the airline, because otherwise that would make the whole flight pointless. I've done this before, where you've started the well, you forgot to start the tracker, and you've flown the whole flight without realizing. How annoying! I know, it is very annoying, especially when the tracker has bugs in it that won't let you scroll through stuff. So we are a Boeing 772, which is always good. I don't want a 744, I want a 772. Click that. Start the flight. That's all done and dusted. Throttles are on idle, which they are. We'll put some lights on now. because they're quite important. So, put the landing lights on. I need to put the beacon, the nav, and the wing lights on. Well, I'll put the logo one on just for that, just for the sake of it. Passenger signs can come on. And I don't know why that's not working, but let's just check. Just turn these off, just see what happens. Turn those on auto, because that never had a fault. Oh, I think the reason why these have faults is because they run off the engines. We'll see what happens after that. Backup gens, we don't need those, I don't think. These are all being powered off of the engine, so once we start the engines we should be okay. Same with those two as well. So, starting engine number 2. I think we turn those off. That would probably cause less problems. Okay, that's an interesting view, isn't it? So, start number 2. Did I just start number 1 instead? Yep, but oh well. So we shall wait for the N1 to rise a little bit, and then we'll bring the fuel in. I've done it in the wrong order, but oh well. Bring the fuel in. Alright, exhaust gas temperature has started to rise. I mean, that's very hot, 436 degrees. Cool. We'll just see what this... There you go. The starter has switched that way. Engine number 2. Wait for the N1 to rise. Exhaust gas temperature hasn't risen yet. I mean, I use the exhaust gas temperature as an indication that the engine has started. I believe that is what I do. There's no way, probably not correct. Fuel has come on. We're just waiting for N1 to continue to rise, which it is doing. There we go. I believe that is a clean start. Once the engines have started, we'll switch over to generators and we'll get rid of the APU. Okay, I can hear the engines even more now. And there goes the starter switch. Fantastic. Backup generators can come on now, once this has had a problem. There we go. So, there we go. They can go over to auto. Those can come on now. Those can go off, or can they? It's a moonlit cockpit, so if you have lights, then that means there's a problem, so we'll switch them back on, possibly. Okay, the APU can come off now. Fantastic. Everything looks like it's working now. We have no lights apart from them over there, which is annoying, and I don't know why, but someone correct me in the comments, please. Before taxi checklist, we need to push back first, which would be a little of a better idea. So, let's page up to see where we are. The runway in which we're going to be taking off is off to our right hand side over there, so therefore we need to push back, nose right and tail left. So let's have a look at the menu inside here. FS actions, push back. We need to obviously remove the wheel chocks. Fantastic, the brakes are holding us. Push back, we need nose right of 90 degrees. And let's go.
And ground, cockpit. Hi, Captain. We're all set to go up here. We've been cleared to push and start at your discretion. Roger that, ready for push. Power and air clear, doors closed. We are ready for pushback. Please parking brake, please. Okay, parking brake is off, clear to push. Brakes off, here we go.
Emergency lights, let me find those. And the 737, they're up here somewhere. But I'm gonna guess that they're not. Oh well. So let's do that checklist that they always seem to be talking about. Okay. Before start checklist, we should have done this. Flight deck.mcp is set, takeoff speeds are also set, CDU pre-flight has been completed, trim is not set, but oh well. Taxi and takeoff briefing. We're taxiing to runway 27 right.
Push is complete. Set parking brake, please.
That was a short push, but oh well.
Alright, brakes are set and pressure is normal. Okay, sir. Tow bar is off. Pin is out. Watch the pin on the right. Alright, guys. Thanks. You're cleared to disconnect. We will be watching for the pin and the release from guidance on the right side of the airplane, and we'll see you guys next time through. Roger that. Have a good flight.
Fantastic. Okay. So let's do it before taxi checklist. We'll do it on time this time. Anti-ice is on auto. Recall is up there somewhere, but I can't see. It's checked, I would imagine. Auto brakes need to be set to RTO. Let's do that. Flight controls. It's full back, full forwards, full left, full right, rudder, full left, and full right. They are checked. Ground equipment is clear, normal. Before takeoff checklist, let's set the flaps. Indicators good. And we can release the parking brake and let's get going to runway 27 right. This is a very big aeroplane to taxi, so... Oh, please do forgive me if I fail at life trying to taxi this aircraft. So as I said, flaps 5 for takeoff today. And that's a Qantas Airbus A380 over there. That is unbelievable. Big. I'm not sure about our wing clearance. In terms of whether we're just going to slice straight through that thing. Probably. But oh well. Can't see where I'm going. There we go. Okay. 27 right. I'm not sure whether that was the one they used yesterday for across the pond. I hear that there was 1,400 connections to VATSIM when I checked, which is a lot. And I saw a picture on the internet of someone comparing VATSIM across the pond live map to that of the real world, and there was so much more traffic flying on VATSIM than in the real world. It was kind of cool. So let's do that before takeoff checklist, which is complete. After takeoff, we'll do that once we're in the air. Now, people need to tell me, should I get the 300 extension pack to the PMDG's 777? Because I don't know whether to get it or not. And I bought this in January of this year, and I quite like it. This is quite a tight turn for a 777. I should have taken the other entry point to the runway. But oh well. I believe we are on the right runway. Would you believe me if I said that was the first time I did a cold to dark in the 777? Was that quite believable? Because of the skill in which I did it with. Cool. We are on the right runway, I believe. 27 right. Just do a final check before takeoff of the MCP. We'll put that on the legs page. Landing gear, we'll do that afterwards. That's the after takeoff checklist. What am I even doing? In terms of everything, I think we are about ready to go. So, let's have a quick look at this. Look at that. It's quite cool, isn't it? So, let's go. Engines 50% and stable. Let's go 100% and engage toga. Power is set. 80 knots. It's a quick acceleration.
V1.
Rotate. Goodbye ground. We can pitch up and gear up. And flaps 1. Still hand flying it. Pitching up to more than 20 degrees actually, which is rather strange, I know. My favourite view in the world. 2,500 flaps all the way up. Still wants us to pitch up. Bring in LNAV and VNAV. And then bring the autopilot in. And autopilot is engaged. After takeoff checklist, flaps up and landing gear is up. And we don't need the descent checklist because we're not descending yet, so let's get rid of that. And marvel at that. Let's see what we've got in terms of altitude restrictions. 6,000 feet and then 3,000 feet and above. 3,000 above and 6,000, so I think we're probably a little bit too high actually because of those altitude restrictions. Just zoom in, 4,000, there we go, that's not too bad. Well, that was a successful departure, I believe. Let's try and altitude intervene those and get the aircraft to climb, because I'd rather not stay down here. Passenger signs can come on to auto. And just look at that, that's pretty cool, isn't it? There we go. Well, that was a successful departure out of London Heathrow, flying to Montreal in Canada. The first flight that I've done on the channel in a Boeing aircraft, and it just had to be in the 777, didn't it? But as for the video, thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you just before top of descent. welcome back to the video. We're just approaching Taffy, which is a waypoint which isn't too far away from Montreal. Well, just over, probably about 200 miles away now. Just thought I'd be prepared and actually program the FMC, just so that we don't panic. We are successfully across the Atlantic, as we can see. It is snowy, and the weather forecast is actually very good for Montreal. The weather that we left behind has actually evolved into 46 knot winds at Heathrow. So we departed quite early, and while we were on the cruise I was just looking through real world data of the real flight, which is actually currently in the air right now, and it turns out that the flight actually left 2.5 hours late, which we managed not to do, which is good. So if PFPX would like to not crash on me right now, that would be perfect. So here we go. Departure and arrival. We're going to be arriving into Montreal on runway 24 right, obviously on the ILS. And the approach is the Ombre 3. Yeah, there we go. And a transition, I don't believe that there is one. There might be. Let me just see what our last waypoint is going to be. It's going to be the Victor Lima Victor, so I would imagine that there probably is going to be a transition. Let's find the transition that I've just lost. Let's reselect it, and it's that one. Click that. Legs. There isn't any discontinuities. That is an interesting thing. So let's go on plan, and let's step through these things. Don't know why I did that. Okay. That is a lot of waypoints, quite close together. Yeah. Where is the runway? Oh, okay, that's perfect. It's only a 20-25 degree turn onto the approach off of the transition, which I like to see. So that's the approach set up and ready to go. In terms of progress page, we are looking quite good. We've got about 250 miles until top descent. We did actually stack climb up to flight level 400 after you guys left. It did step climb up to 380 as well, and then once we got possibly around about over Greenland, it decided to step climb up to 400, which was okay. I don't know what that emergency lights button is. I don't know where the emergency lights are in the 777. They could possibly be on the overhead, because that's where they are on every other one. So, runway turn-off lights. In fact, actually, landing lights can come off, which I forgot about. Everything else is on auto. There we go. Found them. There we go. That warning's gone out, which is fabulous. I'm going to go through the performance, approach performance. So, runway 24 right is 11,000 feet long, which is perfectly big enough. Perfectly big enough for the 777 actually, especially like that. In terms of flaps, I'm still undecided. I'm not sure whether I want a fast approach speed or a slow approach speed. We'll probably go in the middle. Flaps 25 at V approach speed of 139 knots. We're not going to derate the engine during approach, so I believe that that is about it. We are coming up to a waypoint called Taffy. So yeah, we're flying in Canada, so we'll be switching over to inches of mercury, which is also good. And the QNH actually on the ground in Montreal is 10. It's, if I actually bear with, I'm not sure. But as for the cruise, there's still quite a lot of it left, and we will be back when we get a little closer to the top of the descent. Okay, we're back. Hello, how are you all doing? We're still at flight level 400. It's time to do that thing that we always look forward to doing. The descent checklist. Recall's been checked. Notes. Do we really have any? Not that I know of, but we've checked them. Auto brake. Level 2. Possibly, yeah, level 2. Have that done. Landing data, I think I said it was VREF of 139, flaps 25, minimums, I can't remember, approach briefing, landing runway 24 right on the ILS, completed, and there we go. So, let's reach over here, no ATC online unfortunately, and lower that to 10,000 feet, flight level 100, overhead panel is looking fantastic. Landing lights will come on at 10,000 feet. Now I've just had the realization I've just eaten a meal, and I had to eat it really quickly because I decided to start eating like 5 or 10 minutes before I needed to start recording again. And imagine that you've just eaten a meal in the real thing and you had to finish it really quickly because, well, the top of descent was coming up quite quickly. I don't know. It's a fantastic aeroplane. There's wing views. I think they're just about mandatory for a YouTube video. You have to. In terms of the weather on the ground at Montreal, it is looking okay. Let me just bring up a METAR so I can see what it is. I did check before we took off and while we were in the air, and it was okay actually. I mean, I was quite surprised. I was expecting it to be much worse than it actually is. So Montreal, where is it on the map? Do you know when you lose it and you just can't find it? There we go, found it. And the METAR is telling us that the winds are 210 at 14 knots. We have broken cloud at flight level 240 and some snow and rain possible. Top of descent has just started, which is good. The engines are throttling back, ready for us to go. Just because that checklist is going to annoy me, I'll bring that and take it away. I think I do sound really nasally, I don't know why. Oh my god, it's the heater's work. Let's make it really hot in here. That's quite cool. Quite impressed. We do have a tailwind at 22 knots, which is really good actually. We had a headwind off to the right hand side, blowing from right to left all the way through the flight. It did start off as a tailwind, but turned unfortunately into a headwind. I know, how annoying. So, how far do we have to run? Let's have a little look. Approximately 127 miles. Should be landing at 1746 Zulu, which is 18, which is, yeah, that makes sense. Not too far away. It's probably around about half an hour. So, an overview of the flight. I'll go through what add-ons I've got. So obviously we have the Precision Manuals, or PMDG, 777-200 long-range aircraft. And I was saying earlier, shall I get the 300ER? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I need you to possibly decide for me whether the 300ER is worth getting or not. The weather was Active Sky in one of the previous videos, but now it is this free add-on called FS Real Weather Lite, which I find to be working quite well actually. It doesn't do any of the texturing, it just downloads the real world weather, which is basically all you need anyway. So that's the weather. In terms of scenery, on the other end we got Fly Tampa. We have Fly Tampa's Montreal. I was going to fly to Toronto, but I couldn't. I didn't want to buy it. I didn't want to buy Toronto because I already had Montreal. So it's all down to the fact that I didn't want to buy another add-on if I'd already got one in Canada. So yeah, Fly Tampa Montreal is on the ground at Montreal. Obviously we've already seen UK 2000's Heathrow Extreme, which is fantastic, like utterly fantastic, very good. And FTX Global is supplying the overall ground textures. See, this is the thing, is I don't think, I'm just googling it right now, I don't think FTX do a Canada yet. That would be a good idea. Oh, well, they do a Pacific Northwest, which, yeah, they don't really do a Canada, which would be a good idea. They might do that one next. There's a lot of snow though, so but yeah, FTX Global is supplying the textures, and funnily enough it's managed to say light outside all the way through the flight, because usually you take off in daytime and land at nighttime. That's what happens when you fly eastbound towards China, if you're flying that way. But as for the 777, it's fantastic. I had a first video that isn't an Airbus on the channel, so I need you to tell me what you think, whether I should fly more. Oh my goodness, that was a shift in wings, shift in wind. You need to tell me whether I should fly Airbus or whether you want to see both, because maybe you like these flights. I don't know, you need to tell me. I'm quite enjoying long range flights. It's quite cool. We have an overspeed. I believe it's possibly because the winds keep changing, so let's bring the speed brake back in again. Yeah, the aircraft is going absolutely mental. So this aircraft doesn't seem to be descending very quickly, which is rather annoying. So let's bring the speed brakes out, slow the aircraft down, in which in turn it will then increase the descent rate. What is good, well actually no, what's bad about these aircraft is they are absolutely horrendous at descending. I mean, Airbus is fantastic compared to this. Is it just a design feature with all Boeing aircraft that they just don't want to descend? I think it is. You have to resort to measures of putting the speed brakes out. I was quite surprised. I actually got a pilot response warning, which was rather strange. Halfway through the flight, it kept beeping at me because I wasn't responding. Let's see what this says. It needs more drag. I'm supplying drag. It didn't like it. Let's see. Okay. Fantastic. I was actually thinking. There you go. See, it told me that it needed more drag, but now it is telling me that it doesn't need drag. I was thinking, and I didn't know what you'd think, of whether to do a Boeing 737 flight, because I'm quite familiar with Airbus, and Boeing is definitely another one of the model of aircraft, and also GA. Would you like to see some GA flying? Is that something that you want to see? And I'm now going to eat Angel Delight. I don't know whether you guys in America have this. It's quite nice. There's probably like a whole load of viewers that haven't got a clue what Angel Delight is. It's like a mousse kind of thing, you know. I think that's what I can best describe it as. All the speed brakes are still extended, but it is increasing our descent rate quite nicely. So this time I'm going to try not to do the same thing I did when I was in Norway, which was to descend really, really low and then realise that there was lots and lots of terrain And that was not one of my smartest things I've ever done. I'm quite proud I did actually start this whole aircraft on my own without the need of an FMC. So there you go, I'm just going to keep the speed brakes extended during the descent. I'm probably going against all the rules that exist as to what to do. Coming through 19,000 feet. I believe that was literally just a straight-in approach, which is fantastic. The wind is a direct crosswind actually at the moment at 28 knots, which is rather strange. But if we were flying an Airbus, you'd notice this a lot more. You get shaken around all over the place. In terms of landing, I'll be taking control at 500 feet, and depending on visibility, yeah, that's all dependent on visibility, I might not, you never know, and I shall land the aircraft myself. Or, if the visibility is absolutely horrendous, we'll do a Category 3B approach with rollout, I can't even say it, with rollout and flare, and the clouds have just disappeared, so it probably means that the visibility is going to be okay. I believe that Charlie Yankee Hotel uniform is one of our alternates. Did I say alternates? Alternate. So yeah, 14,500 feet. There's a river over there. Not sure what it is. Let's see what the terrain radar looks like. I'm gonna guess it doesn't really exist very well, but we'll have it on anyway. Does the weather radar work? Nope, because there's no weather. Love how the winds have literally just switched to a 30 knot tailwind. That's so quick. So coming down on 13,500 feet. Let's take a look at the altitude restrictions. It wants us by Lona, it wants us 3,000 and above. So let's bring it down to 5,000 feet. Okay, I'm back. I apologise to everyone that has just watched my video. I sound so nasally. I believe I have a cold. I think that's what it's called. But, and I don't like it. Just coming through 10,000 feet. Which means we have to put those famous landing lights on. Which we have just done. Bring this down to 3,000. We'll just do a gradual descent. Speed brakes are extended because now that we are below 240 knots, we need to obviously bring the speed back below 250, because otherwise we get arrested by the air police, which I don't think exists, but yeah. So I think everything looks okay actually, to be honest, in terms of the auto brakes are set to the flaps. Will be coming back down to 25 degrees and be landing at a speed of 139 knots, which is okay. Actually, fuel, let's have a look. How are we looking on fuel? We should have around about approximately 7.8 tons left on the ground when we land. And if we just jump over to the right seat, click on fuel, we can see that we have 4.2 in the right and 4.1 in the left, which is a slight fuel imbalance. We can probably accommodate that to the APU. I believe that it is drawn from the left tank. If it isn't, then it would have been drawn from the centre tanks. But I'm not 100% sure about that. But a slight fuel imbalance, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But if it does obviously get a bit more severe than that, then we know we have a fuel leak, which is certainly not something that I want. Speed brakes were out for ages, which is probably destroying our fuel economy, but oh well. Just coming through 9,000 feet. Don't you just hate it when that green thing disappears out of the range and you just think, how the hell am I going to descend? It's going to work. Let's come down to standard pressure now, come out of standard pressure, and the current altimeter setting is 3,000. Let me just cross-check that with the METAR that I'm going to just about to get. METAR is telling me that we have a QNH of 3,000, so it's correct, which is always good. I believe it's possibly got an altitude constraint right now, which is why we're holding. Yeah, 10,000 feet is going a bit crazy. Probably doesn't see a need to descend any further. So we're getting ever closer to that airport. Now our alternate is actually very close. It's CYUL, which is actually St. Hubert Airport, which is approximately, let me find on PFPX how far away it is. I've got wind information, we don't need that. Wind is of no factor to us. It is approximately 51 nautical miles due east, actually, of Montreal Airport. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem landing on that. I'm not sure how long the runway is. I don't know whether PFPX actually factors in runway length when it's deciding for an ultimate. Because imagine that, trying to land a 777 at an airport that can only cater for regional jets. Well, that would not be good. So let's get rid of that. Checklist. Oh no, that's doors. Okay. Checklist. We can actually check off that because we've already set the altimeter setting. And then I believe that the next checklist is the landing checklist, which we can't do yet because we are not in the landing phase. The altitude restriction obviously was 3,000 above here, which is why we seem to be holding at 8,840 feet, which is kind of strange. The weather outside is frightful. Well, it's snowing, that's all I can really describe it as. There's the mandatory wing view. That wing flex, look at that. Pretty cool. The wing flex was actually up here earlier, but obviously the aircraft has emptied its centre fuel tanks, so it's become slightly lighter. Well, when I say slightly, I mean quite a lot lighter. Because let's not forget that we took off with a weight of approximately, according to PFPX, we took off with cargo of 42,000 kilograms, which was obviously the passengers. We have 295 passengers on board today, which is always nice. Our reserve fuel actually was only about 2.9 tons. I usually like to take a little bit more for that, for transatlantic crossings, but I forgot. There's a track message. That's quite cool. NOTAMs. I believe that there isn't any relevant NOTAMs once we get here, apart from that there's a crane about, I think it was 2 miles south of the airport. That's always nice to know there's a crane. Not that it's going to be simulated, obviously. Just coming through 8,000 feet, and that's a river over there. I did not know that. It's cloudy, but the visibility apparently is good. But right now I'm not really seeing that. Did you get the joke? No. The visibility, yeah, okay, I'm going to shut up. Just coming through nearly 7,000 feet. According to this range ring, we should be able to hit the ILS at 3,000. And I've forgotten how to do an approach in this aircraft. There's a localizer button here, and there's the approach hold button there. So we should be okay. It's kind of difficult. That view is going to be very important as we head straight into a cloud. That's my landing and takeoff view, which I like. Now if we look at these clouds, they just kind of appear. And if we had active sky, then they would fade in slowly and fade out, and then they would let you go through them. But if we look outside, hopefully when we go through this cloud, nothing is allowed to touch the plane, which is so strange. So with active sky you can, I've seen it before where you're on a wing view and you can't even see the end of your wing. That is quite cool. I do like that. There's the wing flex. The wind, a subject of quite a lot of people talking about. The wind in Montreal is 14 knots, which is not too bad. It's actually, yeah, it's a southwesterly wind actually, at 14 knots, which isn't too bad. Just coming on 5,000 feet will reduce the range down to 20 miles, and start bringing out the flaps. Bring those flaps back. All this talking, you just forget about flaps. So, speed is not coming back, so the speed brake needs to come out. Fun in a bun. Looks like we're going to mess this one up. Flaps can come out to 5. I don't get this when it decides to keep the speed up. Let's bring it back to 150 and let it decrease. Bring the localizer alive. We're still way too high. There we go. Well, it's not too bad. Can bring the flaps back even more. Oh, there's the airport. At least we can see it. Select approach. Bring those flaps back even more. Gear can come down. We haven't actually technically intercepted the ILS yet because we cocked up a little bit. It's my fault. So, approach speed was 139, I believe. No, yeah, 139. That's
2500.
Stop the descent there. Bring the flaps out one more notch, and bring the approach speed back to 139. And we can try and intercept a little later than before. Select approach, select localizer actually again. Just want to try and maintain that. There's Montreal out to the left hand side of the aircraft. And the speed brake is extended, which could explain quite a lot. Although it did help with our deceleration, which was good. So, localizer. Select approach and let us intercept the glide slope. Approximately 1940 feet above the ground. This is always the slow process. Auto brake is set, flaps are down and green. This is a fingers crossed moment. We have a 10 knot crosswind from the right actually. So there goes the diamond, there goes glide slope. It's always good. Fantastic. So, we have the glide slope. Which is good. So let's do that landing checklist. Speed brake is right there, is armed. Normal, we don't need to do shutdown checklist, so let's get rid of the checklist. She's gone. Coming from 600 feet, there 1600 feet. As I said, 500 feet is my autopilot disconnect point. Obviously, let's get distracted and do a wing view. And there's the other wing view. And there's the aircraft. And there's the airport. So here we go. Let's see how this goes. I can't see anything yet. Come on, textures, load for me. This is the moment. Ooh. There we go. Dropping this spoon. That was a very slow texture load.
1,000.
But oh well. When I reach the mouse, I drop things. Land 3 is engaged, but we don't want that. We're going to disconnect and do it ourselves. Because, you know. So, let's see how this goes. Oh, visibility is just degraded for some reason. There goes the autopilot at 540 feet.
500.
We can get rid of the auto throttle as well. We have the aircraft. Reset. You can see snow is actually making its way onto the runway as well, actually, which is kind of cool. Autopilot, yes, we get the idea. Autopilot is disconnected. Trying to keep that descent rate that we had before. This is fantastic scenery by Flight Tampa. So here we go. Moment of truth.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
There we go. We touched. And slowly lower the nose wheel down to the ground. At 90 knots, this just shows, there we go. Just shows how light we are, because I could still raise that nose wheel at 90 knots. Which is just, wow. So we'll pull off here. I think this has been modelled really, really well, actually. And the frame rates are dying, but oh well. I mean, just look at the snow. That's what it should look like. Which is always good. Cool, cool. We shall just pull off onto this taxiway, and as per usual, we'll take a look back at some of those replays just to see how good that landing was, or oppositely how bad it was. I'm hoping it's not quite the latter. So let's jump back and have a look at the replays. Hope you enjoyed the replays. As for the video, I think that's about it, but thank you very much for joining us from the flight from London Heathrow all the way across the pond, in spirit of Across the Pond 2015 on VATSIM, which unfortunately I didn't get to actually do because I wasn't here yesterday, but well, I just did it today instead. But I think that was quite fun, and Fly Tampa definitely did a fantastic job with the scenery, and the snow just looks absolutely amazing. But do check out the website pcflight.net to catch up on the latest flight sim news, and also to read some of the reviews that I've written for some products. And very soon we'll have a full guide to flying on a laptop, which is actually what I'm doing right now. I'm flying on one of Chill Blast's Fulcrum laptops, which is so powerful. It's much more powerful than my desktop, and as you can see, it's doing quite well, I believe. So do check out the website pcflight.net. But as for the video, thank you very, very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.